I'm rolling.
Hello everyone, I'm Courtney Crown for WCN 247. I'm here with Emmy Award winner Denny Wolf, videographer and producer at ESPN. He joins us on campus this homecoming weekend to receive a Distinguished Alumni Award. How are you today, Denny?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for letting me interview you.
Certainly.
Now, after graduating from Westminster College, how did you score a job at ESPN?
It actually started here about a year before. ESPN came to campus in 1996 to do a story on Harold Bury since he was being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. At the time, the reporter was Beano Cook, who interviewed one of my classmates, a kid named Chris Snyder. Beano was so enamored with Chris and Chris's personality, they said, he's like, you know what, give me your resume, I'll send it to any place you want. One of the places was the ESPN. Chris got a note back about the ESPN production assistant program and said, hey Denny, you know what, this isn't what I'm looking for, maybe this will be something you're interested in. So I held on to that letter. After I graduated, about 3 months after graduation, I sent my resume, my cover letter, and of all things I sent a jock strap actually with my resume and stuff to sort of get someone's attention with the thing that says, I'm serious about supporting ESPN, dial 724-845 blah blah blah, to hire Denny Wolf. And it was brand new, I swear to God, but that was how I got hired at ESPN. That was in November of 1997.
And now, along with the jockstrap thing, do you think it's important for students who are trying to get into the business to have that upper edge and think of something creative to add to their?
It's a different time, I think. Doing something like that with a jockstrap probably in this day and age wouldn't fly very well. In fact, it may land you very quickly in the garbage bin. I think the biggest thing that people need to set themselves apart is with different marketable skills, particularly for communications majors I can speak of. If you can write, if you can produce, if you can edit, and you can shoot your material, you become that much more valuable. But that's just not only for communications majors, that's for any major. And also the ability to write well. And if you can write and speak clearly in your communication, you can do almost any job in this world.
And what is your favorite part of your career?
I've gotten to meet all kinds of cool athletes over the years. I've met, being around here, I met Ben Roethlisberger during his rookie season. I've met Mario Lemieux once before, and Mario Lemieux was my hero growing up for hockey. I've met Wayne Gretzky, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, Troy Aikman. I've met many different athletes, and that's kind of the cool thing I can look back on years later that I've gotten some photos with a few of them, and that's just something that I can take with me.
Awesome. Now, what would you say is the coolest place you've ever been because of broadcasting?
Ooh, coolest place I've ever been. That's a difficult question because I've been to Athens, Greece to do a story on an NBA player named Josh Childress when he spurned his NBA contract to go play in the Greek league. I just came back recently from a trip to Germany where I got to interview U.S. Army soldiers and officers there for our Sports Center Veterans Day stunt we have coming up in November. I've been to several Super Bowls. I was on the field pregame and postgame from this past Super Bowl between the Saints and the Colts in Miami. I've been to a lot of cool places, but I don't think I can actually pick just one.
You should write a biography. You have such an interesting life.
I don't know, maybe it's been cool, but some days a lot of days it's work, I go to the Super Bowl like I did this year. My day started at 4 a.m. and we went to prepare for the Sunday NFL Countdown pregame show, and it didn't end until almost midnight when we got back to the hotel at the end of the day. So that's a 20-hour day, so it can be crazy sometimes.
Now, on this outstanding career journey you've had, who has been the most influential person to you?
Ooh, wow, that's a tough one because, obviously my family have been very supportive of me. Here at the college, the people in the communications department have been tremendously supportive. Dave Barner, who's been here, when I arrived, Chuck Shirazi, who just left as chief engineer, Gary Swanson in the AV services department, have all been people who I felt have been invested in my success. And that's one thing I think that separates Westminster from other schools, is that people really want you to do well, and that when you aren't doing well, they want to find ways to help you do better. So I'd say those are three people I can just think of off the top of my head who were very supportive. Dr. Walter Scheid, who's professor emeritus now with the school. He was my speech professor and loved working with him, and the late Dr. William McTaggart. All very different people, all very unique and different perspectives, but all very inspiring and very supportive, and that's what you really need.
And now, as I said before, Denny is an Emmy Award winner. And what is that like, Denny?
To win Emmys? To be honest, it's something that's cool I can put on my resume that I've done, but I've never been driven and motivated by trophies or awards. It's always been about, for me, it's been about the creative process with things, and how I got from point A to point B, and told a story and found the details and added the depth to things that people didn't know about. So really, to be an Emmy Award winner, I guess it's cool. I mean, it's something that I think more people look at. But for me, it's like my Emmys they sit down in my game room in my house, and they're kind of far away and tucked away from stuff, because I also don't want to look at that, because if I fall in love with those trophies and that kind of success, then you kind of forget about what's in front of you and what's ahead, and that's what you need to be looking on and focused on more often.
And adding to your award collection, you're on campus this homecoming weekend to receive an award for being an outstanding and awesome alumni. So what's that like to be back on this campus and enjoying all of the status, I guess?
That's, to me, as I just said, I'm not motivated by awards and stuff like that. But this award, when I found out from the alumni office about it, really meant a lot to me, because you don't realize, if what you're doing is going to make an impact, and apparently, the people notice the work that I've done, and I've made sure over the years I've tried to take the time to get to know broadcast communication students and to advise them and help them along the way. And so this one really means a lot, because, this is such a small community, and there's only, there's not many people that get recognized all the time for things. So to be recognized as an alumni, and it's very nice, because I look at the other winners I think I'm the 6th winner from my graduating class of 1997, and I'm included with a guy named Sean Swarner, who I actually did a feature on several years ago with ESPN, and he is the only 2-time cancer survivor to not only summit Mount Everest, but to summit the 7 summits of the world, who has a fantastic story. And Ashley Davis, who won, I believe, in 2002 was the year she won. She was with the Bush White House after 9/11, and she was a part of that group. So I mean, I'm in with some very, very elite company and some people who've done some really fantastic things. And for me, I look at myself, I'm just a guy who does TV, and I just make sure the black holes are filled between the commercials.
And he's so humble with all of his awards. Now, you are a guy who's been there and done that for everything in this broadcasting business, it seems. So let's go back to the basics. How important would you say it is for students right now to realize the importance of writing and writing things for stories and TV?
Writing is the foundation for everything. It starts with the pitches for stories. You have to pitch a story to your boss, and sometimes you walk in their office and you tell them that, and they say, well, put it down on a piece of paper or send me an email with it. You've got to be able to write and communicate. It's like what I just said recently, was that you have to be able to write and speak effectively. Writing is a part of that. And if you can do that, you can do any job in the world. So writing is at the very core and the foundation of making sure you can communicate that idea. That's one of the oldest ways of doing it, and it's something that's sort of people are getting away from, and they think like, well, it's not as necessary. But writing is so important. It deals with my pitches. It's how I deal with people when I'm trying to tell them, I'm trying to request interviews with people. It's putting the stories together. If you can't write effectively, your stories sort of fall flat. That's a big difference in a lot of cases between what's a good story, what's a great story. Sometimes is the writing and the prose that a reporter adds to it.
And what advice would you have for students like myself who are trying to get into the business right now, and other people who are trying to break into the broadcasting world?
Do everything you can. Learn as many things as you can. As I said before, if you can produce, if you can write, if you can do video editing, if you can do shooting of things, those skills, those ability to do those things well are so important, because that makes you more marketable. Because the reality is, in broadcast, in television, in the affiliates and radio stations, wherever, they're cutting down on staff. They're combining and consolidating things. So the more you're able to do, the more valuable you are to people. The more valuable you are to people, the more likely you're going to be either hired or kept on afterwards. So those are really the 4 biggest things I think that you have to be able to do as a communication student to make sure you maximize your chances. And that's the greatest thing about Westminster here, is that it's small enough that you have that chance to start at an early age. And you're a freshman. If you're ambitious enough, if you're driven enough to do that, you can go do it, and you can get better at it and make those mistakes here. Make those mistakes here, as opposed when you're making them maybe working an internship at a station like WKBN or WYTV or WFMJ, all those places. So that's the benefit you have here, and that's why people got to take advantage of it.
Well, thank you very much, Denny, and I hope you enjoy your wonderful Westminster weekend. I'm Courtney Crown for WCN 247.